All right, so in this problem, what we're trying to do is simplify a rational expression. Now, rational expressions are just any expression which is written as a fraction, right? Where it's like you can see it's polynomial over a polynomial. Whenever you're trying to simplify rational expressions, it's gonna very heavily be all about factoring, right? It's all about factoring. So we need to be able to factor here. So let's look at the top part. Let's try to factor this. First off, we see we have two terms. Now, if you ever have just two terms, factoring can tend to be a little bit easier because all I need to do is think about, okay, what do these two terms have in common? 2x squared has a factor of 2, and 8 has a factor of 2 as well because 8 is 2 times 4. So I can factor this top part into 2 times, and so once I pull the 2 out, what do I have left? I would have x squared minus 4. So that would be the top part right there, right? We're going to leave the bottom for now because we'll come back to that. Now, if that was it, fine and dandy. However, we have x squared minus 4 here. This is something that you guys should recognize. This x squared minus 4 is a difference of squares. Remember that, guys. Difference of squares. Difference of squares was that idea that if I ever had two terms which were squared, like a squared and subtracting, so like a squared minus b squared, see how a is being squared, b is being squared, and they're subtracting. It can always be factored into a minus b times a plus b. In the case of this is always true, right? This piece right here. In the case of x squared minus 4, that is x squared, and 4 is 2 squared, right? So this would factor further into 2 times x minus 2 times x plus 2. And we'll leave the bottom for now as well. X squared minus 4x plus 4. All right, now we need to factor the bottom, right? Now this is a quadratic, and there's many methods we've talked about in terms of how to factor a quadratic. Personally, I like to just draw. Here, we'll rewrite our top part first. So x2 times x minus 2 times x plus 2. Personally, when I'm factoring a quadratic, what I will do is I will actually just draw parenthesis, parenthesis, right? Because I know quadratics get a factor into two factors, right? And I think about what could the pieces inside these parentheses be based on the quadratic I have. For example, I have x squared. The only way I was going to end up getting x squared is if I have an x and an x in either of them, right? Because x times x will give me that x squared there. Then I have my last number, it's 4. So because this is 4, there's two combinations I could use. I could use a 1 and a 4, because 1 times 4 is 4. Or I could use a 2 and a 2, right? Now, what I'm gonna do here is I'm just kind of personally, I know this is gonna end up being 2 and 2, and they're subtracting, right? Now, the reason why I know this is true is because negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. However, negative 2 plus negative 2 would be negative 4, right? Because when I do the distribution, negative 2 times x is minus 2x, minus 2 times x is another minus 2x for a total of minus 4x. Now that I've factored the whole thing, I can simply cancel out any factors which are in common on the top and bottom. For example, right here I have x minus 2, and here I have x minus 2. And that's about it. Once I've canceled out all the factors that are possible, I just go ahead and rewrite everything. I have 2 times x plus 2 on top, and on bottom I have x minus 2. And that's it. That's my solution.